Good morning. This is Talking Devils, the leading independent Manchester United podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Barton, joined by Manchester United legend Paul Parker. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm good, thank you, Wayne. Very good.
Also
I was at
joined by...
West Ham I was at West Ham at the weekend.
Oh, wow. Well, you saw a good 45 minutes at least.
Yeah, 45 minutes of. Can you ever 45 minutes? A game of two halves.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. If you want to split it in half, it was a strange one. Best two goals were scored by West Ham, and if it had gone on for maybe another 10 minutes, then there was every chance West Ham could have got a third.
Yeah.
But once it got to half time, as you know, and you're up against a team that's in the right frame of mind, a team that's organised, then really they just killed the game from the first minute. And you know, when you just want to take your earphones off and take the microphone away and say, oh, I can't talk about this anymore, I need to go home. I was in that zone. It was horrible. Pointless second half.
Just so you know, Paul's future in players, he loves the 90 minutes and he does like staying there for the full 90. He's a true professional. It's just 90 minutes for me and Dave he can't stand. No, it was I don't enjoy watching Arsenal, to be fair. It's grim watching them score. But no less grim than watching Liverpool score 2 goals against Manchester City, which, you know, you don't want to celebrate Liverpool wins. You don't want to be sad about City losing. But that was the case this weekend, unfortunately. Dave, how are you? It's been a long time.
Hello. Yeah, doing good. Had a rough 48 hours in Manchester, but things are all better now that I'm back home. You know,
48 hours.
Yeah,
that's 2 days.
Can you ask him the question?
That's 2 days.
What's the question?
Well, why was it a rough 48 hours? And
no,
I spent it with Wayne.
Yeah. It was actually 24 hours. It was 24 hours, really.
Wow. It felt like 48.
All right. Morning, Johnny. He says, morning, gents. Hope you well. Lovely weekend. Impressive performance after 20 minutes. Can see Amorim's plan now. Good he's playing different place to assess them. Can't wait for the January window. Yeah. Well, all that money we're saving must be ready to prime on the transfers. It's funny to see Pep squirm. Yeah, it was. The finger thing was funny. Like, we see Jose Mourinho's done it in the past, and that's a manager cracking up, like turning around to a crowd and showing them the 6 was, I'm guessing, the 6 Premier League titles that he's won. Wow. Anyway, Manchester United 4, Everton 0. That's why we're here to talk about Manchester United's great win. They won 3-2 against Ruben Amorim against Bodo Glimt, thanks to Ruben Amorim's new system in the week. I wasn't sure about this 3-4-3 after Ipswich, but it does appear to be working. Sterner tests will come, of course. But 4-0 after quite a sticky start, but then Rashford scores from the corner, and then it was a very, very comfortable game for United from that moment in time. Paul, we'll talk about the players, we'll talk about the system and stuff like that, but overall, United comfortable winners. I don't think 4-0 flattered United in the end either.
I think some people might say that it might do, because there was those moments, in the first half, I should say, where United started well, but they lost their way, and I have to say a little bit the keeper, a few last-ditch challenges, kind of stopped Everton maybe going on and maybe scoring in that first half as such. But once they got the 2-goal deficit, then you thought to yourself, you're not going to say it's in the bag, because United have a tendency to give away 2-goal leads. But once the third went in, then it was game over. And you're right what you're saying. You are getting an idea of what he wants to do, and that message had come up before saying he can't wait for January. You just know that it needs additions to really get it going, because there's still players who are not right.
Yeah, but quality of the goals was quite good as well. The third one in particular, I mean, we'll talk about Xerxes in isolation in a moment, but he did well in the build-up. Ahmad undoubtedly the man of the match as far as I was concerned. He
Yeah.
sets up the goal for Rashford. Some nice football being played, and I mean that's a thing, right? I mean, Amorim after the game said something about he wanted people wanted the team to be winning again and wanted to see results again. But really, what we wanted to see is, he said we wanted to see the team working hard. But I think we've said numerous times on this podcast, apart from the last game where the running stats were showed and it looked really bad on United. But I don't think consciously we ever looked at United and said they weren't playing for the manager. I'm not saying that that's the pronounced change this time around. I just think that the system's working well and the players are working hard for it at the moment. We can see what might happen in 3 or 4 months when the system has its teething problems and, are the players still going to be working hard against more difficult opponents. Might even see that on Wednesday against Arsenal. What did you make of the overall performance? Apart from, obviously, I know Nana made a couple of saves there, Paul, but the quality of the goals and Ahmad in particular, instrumental throughout as well.
Well, it was good fortune for the first one, wasn't there?
Yeah.
In that sense, I don't really know if it was going in, whether or not if it was kind of going in. Was Pickford? Yeah, was Pickford going to get there? But still, it made a difference. It wasn't getting the rub of the green like that before, and it worked out quite well in that sense. I just thought the goals. The goals were the following 3 goals were excellent, and again, like you said about man of the match, Amad Diallo, and you have to say he's won quite a few recently, and what we can all. I'm saying it, and hindsight, you just say, why wasn't he given a run so many months ago? Many months ago, it was last season. Every time he come on, you sense a difference. You could hear the noise. You could hear the difference with the fans as well. A player that has been quite rare in a few seasons, a player that kind of gets the fans, as the saying goes, off their seats.
Yeah.
When he gets the ball at his feet and he starts to run with it, because he's got so much belief in what he wants, in what he's going to do, what he wants to achieve. His decisions are made already. He knows what he's going to do with the ball. He sees a pass early, he gives it, he lends it, he wants it back again. And I just think it's been a little bit of a mini revelation, to be honest. He's kind of given the reason for a lot of United fans to watch United, because they are seeing someone who is playing with a little bit of imagination. Sir Alex is mostly really enjoying watching him, because he's a player that would have played in his side with that kind of, it's like a Ryan Giggs in that sense, someone who runs at people. You don't have to ask him to run back. And how many goals has he made from the fact of just putting people under pressure when they're facing the wrong way?
Unbelievable, yes.
That was it. It's just incredible how he does that. He just runs straight at the ball. He doesn't hang a leg out there. He tries to win it, and I can't say any more about him. I just really, really enjoy watching him play.
Yeah, Johnny says we're still suffering in midfield. We'll talk about the midfield in a moment. He says we need at least one box-to-box energetic midfielder. The difference is the manager, in my opinion. Ten Hag's football was awful. Amorim is excitement. Ahmad's a great example of that. Our fan says, for all of Ten Hag's shortcomings, it seemed for a time we had the worst luck during games. I hope that changes with Amorim starting yesterday. And Joyce says, great start under Ruben Amorim. Demonstrates Ten Hag's failings. It seems to failing to see what plays after. I don't know. I feel we're being a little bit too critical of Ten Hag. There was a lot of luck that went against him. Systemic wise, all right, we can say that they struggled to adapt to that, and this system they definitely started well in it. But there were times under Ten Hag when that system also seemed very fluid. Let's not forget that. I know it's easy to look at the last few weeks, and I'm not saying he was blameless. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I want a little bit more evidence before I get too carried away, even though it's difficult to yesterday. One thing, Dave, we said pretty much the first thing coming out of the game was, looks like Paul was right. The way that, we can all talk about hindsight. We all have that benefit of doing that. But Paul has been saying on this podcast 2 things that I think were evident against yesterday. We don't really have to bang on Garnacho too much because he was only a substitute appearance, but the way that he needs to tether himself to the team in order to make sure he's getting the best of his talents, and the team are getting the best of his talents. But he's probably been saying for longer than most that Ahmad deserves that run in the side, and he's been the most impressive player so far this season, but certainly under the Amorim era. What did you make of yesterday?
I mean, it was the first 25 minutes. I think we were a little bit. I think the players were a little bit confused on what the instructions were. The one thing I do like about our new coach is that he's not afraid to get on the sideline and scream at players. I mean, I think he spent the first 24 of those 25 minutes screaming at Rashford and Xerxes to get up the pitch and to basically follow his instructions. And once that clicked, I thought we were very impressive. Everton, they haven't been pulling up any trees this season, but at the end of the day, our performance yesterday, it excites me. I like the system. I like the system that he plays. It's difficult to play against at times. We were too predictable under Ten Hag and the system he was trying to use. I don't want to be overcritical of him, but I just feel that, there was no real excitement to the way Ten Hag set his teams out. Was very confusing at times. But Amorim's come in and he's just followed on from Van Nistelrooy. I think he's given these players a lot more freedom. Ahmad, I've been a big fan of his since his loan spell at Sunderland. I was a little bit baffled all last season how he wasn't getting in, and then when he would get in, he'd probably be one of the best players on the pitch, one of the better players anyway. And then the following week he get dropped. It was very confusing. But yesterday he was unplayable. He really was. He was. I mean, for such a small guy, he gets up and down the pitch. He's not afraid of a tackle, and he's very disciplined as well. But it was. It's been a very, very long time since we've sat and watched Manchester United and had a comfortable last 20 minutes. Big test on Wednesday. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit. I'm not so sure where we will. I'm not so sure. I know a comment earlier on about waiting for the January transfer market. January transfer markets are normally pretty dull. And there was also a comment about midfield. I think it's Mainu coming back in has given us a little bit more energy in midfield. It's just a shame he's going to miss the Arsenal game, I believe, because he picked up his fifth yellow card. But I think having Mainu back is going to be a massive, massive thing for Amorim, and I think that midfield is going to be a lot more tighter now with him around, because he has a lot of energy. He plays. Casemiro had a very good game yesterday, I thought, before he was taken off. And I think it's because Mainu's in there and he's helping him. He's energetic. He's doing all the running for him. And Casemiro is just doing, what he's doing. He's an experienced pro, and very, very happy with yesterday's result. But again, big test on Wednesday.
Ahmad, like the Artful Dodger, isn't he? Pickpocket. Amazing to create chances like that. I mean, we all know what he can do on the ball. And he's a threat from that corner that we like to try at the moment, where, ping it over and he can get a shot from the edge of the area. That works in his favour, but this different dimension that we've been seeing of him being aggressive, maybe it's the positional change really that has enabled him to do that, and it's created chances for us and created goals for us, as we saw yesterday. Johnny says, agree with Dave. Ten Hag won 2 trophies. There's no hate in my criticism. Just that it's playing very poorly. Can't complain there really. On the evidence of this season, at least. The midfield one is an interesting one. Is it right that Mainu and Martinez will both be missing from the Arsenal game? I think that might be critical in terms of the way that we line up. Martinez seems to make a big difference in the progressive play of the defence. That's why, I guess, Shaw came on to play on the left-hand side of defence yesterday. One of the things that was clear was obviously Xerxes scoring 2 goals. The second one, a little bit easier of a take. Well, no, sorry. More difficult of a take, more accomplished of a finish than the first one, even though they're both pretty comfortable for him, you would hope. But in the previous weeks and months, what we've seen as pretty comfortable has not always turned out to be the case yesterday. Paul, yesterday, there was a guy, we were in South Stand, a guy like 2 rows behind, maybe 25, 30 minutes in, he completely lost it with Xerxes. I think Xerxes missed a cross or something. and he absolutely obliterated him for like maybe 5 solid minutes. And because he knew people were laughing at him, he just carried on. He's going like, "Man, Xerxes, you're a disgrace. He's got to be sold. Drop him. Take him off. He's rubbish. He's rubbish." And obviously much stronger words than that. And he was going on and on and on. It's the most I've ever seen or heard, and I've been there a long time. It's the most I've ever heard someone go on one prolonged rant about one specific player, and obviously it ends with Xerxes scoring the punchline. And he didn't say anything for the rest of the game. We all want the players. I mean, I've been his critic as well, but I wanted him to do well, and he played. He's probably his best game for us yesterday. I mean, there were definitely moments where you can ask questions about him, but the progression, he was definitely better yesterday, wasn't he?
He was, but to be honest, he was starting from a very, very low bar. To be honest, and you do look at it, and you have to look at the opponents, and you have to say that there's still a way for him to go. And when he scored the goal, you know, he needed a goal, you needed a goal because of the man in the stand as well. So it worked out quite well, but there's still a lot there. I mean, you go and put him, if he plays in that position again on Wednesday. It's Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah, on Wednesday. Then I think you're going to see it a little bit different when he's got the midfield players of Arsenal around him. He does get the ball taken off him far too easy. I've never seen a player virtually go when he goes. You know, when he goes in, when he challenges with people are challenging him, he's never ever once really come out with the ball. You don't see him go in there strong with any grit that he's going to try and win the ball. But when someone goes and scores 2 goals, whatever you're thinking takes everything away because he scored 2 goals. But if you're being picky, or even more than that, you'd have to say is that for a Manchester United side going forwards, he doesn't start. They still need a player who can play that role in there. Bruno's struggling with it. Every time Bruno got tackled, all he bothered about was to have a go at the referee. So he's a little bit wayward at the moment. Still need a centre forward. So it's going to be Højlund, or it's going to have to be someone else coming in.
Yeah,
Marcus Rashford can't play that. He can't play that role. He can't do it. Marcus was another one. He scored 2 goals, but he constantly kept giving the ball to Everton.
Yeah,
there wasn't anything else you could talk about with him, Wayne. To be perfectly honest, with Marcus Rashford, other than he scored 2 good goals. Sorry, he scored 2 goals, I should say.
No, the second goal was definitely very good, and at least when he gave the ball back to him that time, it was the kickoff. Rather than doing it that way. Jury's out on some players. Like you're quite right. Bruno still trying to find his feet. He was very influential on the Thursday game, but that's because he was playing in central midfield really, and was able to affect the game. And you're not going to see him in that position all the time. Dave, one of the things that Amorim said after the game was everyone's more or less had the chance now. Obviously, I don't think he means that that's their only chance to impress. What he said is everyone's had a chance, and it gives them. I think that it's along the lines of they'll have another chance. They're now getting a chance to prove that they can do something. Although I did find it kind of humorous. Was it the Luke Shaw comment where he said, "What was it that he said?" I've got an echo coming back as well. If someone, is it Paul's thing coming through? Let me I'll just mute everyone. It might be Dave, in fact. I think it's Dave's, something coming through Dave's thing. Anyway, the point being, I'll come to you, Dave, in a second. I've muted you both for now. That Luke Shaw said afterwards that I want more of a chance to play. You've not been fit, mate, for all this time. Anyway, the point being, Amorim is saying that he's going to give everyone a chance, right? So, and that we're seeing that, and that's a good thing at the moment. It looks good at the moment. Everyone is getting a chance to impress. How long do you give that, Dave, until you think, all right, we want to start seeing a nailed down 11? You give him a couple of months, or do you think like with Arsenal in mind, like 3 games is enough. You know, that you want to see a formation of he knows what he's going to be going with, or do you think it was still in that formative stage of like giving people more chances to prove themselves in the system?
I mean, I think yesterday was a very it was a strange game in the fact that we had 2 players that scored 2 goals, and neither of them really played very well, in my honest opinion. So I'm not so sure how many more chances we're gonna. You know, I know he said that everyone's had a chance, and as you said, it won't be their last chance. But I just feel that, you know, when we have a really full fit side, I don't think Xerxes gets into that team. It's just a shame that we're going to have to change it around so much on Wednesday because of the suspensions. The second part of the question you had, I didn't hear it, you know, because it was all fuzzy. So you're going to have to repeat that.
I have to mute you for that as well because it's fuzzy on your end. The point is, everyone now getting a chance in the system. Would you think that do you want the managers to have that sorted out like immediately, or do you want him to have like a longer run at like? Do you want these players to have the chance in like, you know, 3 or 4 weeks? Do you want to see more rotation, or do you want to see like by Wednesday? Do you already want to be seeing like a more defined structure of what he's looking for from the squad of players that he's got?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday you and I were talking about it. He made 6 changes from the game in midweek. I was a little bit disappointed with, you know, not seeing Mount in there again. Ugarte as well is a favourite of mine. I mean, I don't disagree with what he's doing in that sense of wanting to see them in a live environment. But I think we need to start nailing down an 11 and not constantly chopping and changing. I think like I said earlier on, there's a couple of players that played yesterday that certainly wouldn't be part of what I would believe will be our starting 11 going forward. But we need to get a more steadier side, starting with Arsenal. And the reason being is that all these players are now playing in the new system. So they have to get used to it. We have to start getting a starting 11 that's used to the system rather than chopping and changing. But again, I understand why he's chopped and changed, because he wants to see what everyone looks like. Again, he could also have had Arsenal in the back of his mind. And thinking that, you know, I don't want to, I need my strongest side out on Wednesday. That could have been part of it. But I definitely do want to start seeing, I want to see Mount in that position that he played midweek, because that was his natural position at Chelsea, where he played his best games. I think Fernandes he has improved since he's dropped back because he's more involved. So I kind of like that. I kind of want to see Mount in that number 10 position a little bit more. But yeah, I think we need to start, and I think we will start to see a much more steadier 11 because, you know, we got a lot of games coming up in December alone, and that's the ideal opportunity to kind of, you know, mold the first 11 that you want. But I don't believe, you know, yesterday's team. I think there's, you know, 3 or 4 players that won't be part of that moving forward. So, but again, I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Wednesday's a big test, but I do want to see us to start having more solid 11. But again, fall back to the fact that new manager wants to see what everyone can do. I know you can see them on a training pitch, but, you know, it's obviously different in a live environment in a game. So sooner rather than later, I want to start seeing the formation of an 11.
Yeah, Paul, interesting point. I mean, you are an advocate for keeping a consistent 11. We saw under Ten Hag that Van Gaal, well, potato, really. Tomato, potato. Who says potato? Okay, Paul. So we saw under Ten Hag that he kept that same 11, and that's when we got the most consistent run of form from that side going up to the League Cup final the first year. This is a little bit different. What do you think? What do you want to see from this, like, next sort of 3 months or so? Do you think he's already got to start nailing down that 11, or do you think he's got to be still giving the players a chance like he has been doing?
Has Dave left? Has he left the room, Dave? Because I'm speaking. Oh, he's back again. He's back. I thought he'd gone. I thought he had the ump because I was speaking.
Yeah, I was going to see if the sound improved.
It does a little bit. Unfortunately, we can still hear you, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in continuity, but today's game is all about switching players around. I listen to some supporters and you hear them talking away. Yeah, he needs a rest, and he's got to change the team. And you're virtually saying, well, why? And they say, well, he just needs maybe needs this. And I think myself, continuity is key to everything you try to be successful. Continuity will always give you the best chance of being successful. And even on the other side of it, if you've got a little bit of trouble, people knowing each other are the ones, when they've been together, will get you out of trouble because they know each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And we see that with most teams. Even, you look at Pep and his best, I call it his best stint, I'm not calling City his best stint. Look at him with Barcelona. They virtually always the same players played.
Yeah.
And they wanted to play everything. All this, rubbish, that people come out about being tired and everything. Football is a job, and you do have those moments when you feel low, but you get on a high. You forget pain. Your lungs get bigger, muscles get stronger because you're having a good time and you thrive. And that's what Ten Hag had during that bit. When he got to that League Cup final and then went on and won it. So at this moment, I think he need to see, and I think you will. I think already you can see the three at the back he's got at the moment, which he quite likes. I mean, the only one is. The lad, is it Yoro?
Yeah.
He's the only one that maybe you think yourself, if he's available, he might affect it somewhere like, is it the middle or is it one of the wide positions? So he's got Luke Shaw back, and you think, right, okay, is he going to be him, Martinez, or him? I still can't see Luke as a wing back, to be perfectly honest, in that way. He's too not great agility. No, he hasn't got a dribble in him as such. But he's with his range of passing with his left foot, he'll make a difference. So it's just in that midfield area, I can still see Ugarte in there for some reason. Him and Mainu and this Casemiro. There's three of them there with two positions. Fernandes' position where is up, and obviously Dave's talking about Mason Mount, who I'm very wary of. I'm not sure about him at all, Mason Mount. I'm not sure what his position is and what kind of player he is. But the biggest one, which nothing can be done with it unless you go in the marketplace, is the front three.
Yeah.
And that's where you really, in my opinion, the back three or back four, defensive, I should say, is where you really want people knowing each other. The goalkeeper needs to know the people in front of him really well, know each other, know strengths and weaknesses. It's the front three where there's no great connection. Nothing there. There's nothing. And the only connection comes is when we talked about earlier, Diallo gets on the ball and he pulls things together. But without him involved, you never know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Because nothing there is connecting, because they're bits and bobs. So playing them regularly is not going to change anything if you play with any of those players, because none of them mix in. You might be able to do something with Højlund, maybe. I'll give him a maybe, but even for me, and I'm still that way, Garnacho and Marcus Rashford are two people who are just not going to connect and be able to play in that way that he wants.
Like we've had this conversation before, and jury's out on Garnacho for me. I see your point with Rashford. I think it's a difficult system for him. Having said that, he's doing quite well in it so far. Maybe not playing quite well, but the numbers are there, and hopefully that'll get his confidence building. Dave, one of the areas that Paul was talking about there was the midfield. Midfield 2 seems like a much more easy conundrum to solve based on the qualities that we've got. So who would the two be in your mind? Who would you go? Now, obviously, it's going to be difficult on Wednesday because there's no menu. But moving forward, who would you say is the two? You've got to unmute yourself as well, Dave. Oh, well, he's back. He did eject himself.
I'm having some of my internet crap. Anyway, yeah. So Um, it is. I mean, it's a nice position to be in. That we have this dilemma of we've got some good quality in midfield right now. It is kind of a tricky one of who he's going to go. And obviously Wednesdays it makes it a lot easier for him with Mainu out. But for me, I like the Mainu Ugarte or Mainu Casemiro combination. With Mainu for me is the main man. He was, yesterday he was once again he was class. I know he had one or two mistakes, but just he's come back from a lengthy injury. For me, he's the one that starts first and foremost. I think he has potential to be one of the best. It's just difficult with. I think it all depends on what he's going to do with Bruno Fernandes, who takes up that midfield spot as well. I like Fernandes in midfield. I like him a little bit out on the left. Because as Amorim said, he gets the ball more, he controls it more. He just, and the manager or the coach pointed this out, is that last week he said he's just got to stop trying to find that long ball all the time. And that's good to hear the manager saying that, because a lot of the failures from last season were down to the fact that we were constantly doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. The same players were doing the same things, and it just wasn't working. And at times it was very frustrating. I can see this coach is not really one to take that quite easily. You make the same mistake 2 or 3 times, he's out and he's on top of you. So for me in midfield, I would, as long as Bruno needs to adapt, I think, and he needs to stop looking for the Hollywood ball every time he gets it. The Hollywood pass every time he gets it. He's just got to slow down on that, because I think he could be one of our most influential players in midfield on the ball. It is a difficult thing to call right now, because I have like, I want Mainu, I want Ugarte in there, I want Casemiro, I want Fernandes, and obviously you can only pick 2 or 3 out of them. But if I was given the opportunity, it would be Mainu would be a main one, and then one between Casemiro, one Ugarte, and then I would have Bruno Fernandes out on the left.
Yeah, inside left, really, that performance, that area kind of works for him a little bit better, because especially if you've got a left-sided player there, it opens up. We were talking about this. It opens that player the pitch up. It enables him to influence the game in the area where he's most influential. But then there's the issue about who's breaking the line beyond Fernandes to create that space in front of him as well, not just wide left. But the benefit of having a naturally left-sided player, even though he wasn't brilliant on Thursday night with Malacia, the positions that he got into. And I think that's the point that Paul was alluding to earlier. You can see the benefits of this system with the square pegs and the square roles. And it's kind of like, all right, well, we can see what they could do if there were better players there, or better functionality for the system. Then you can see the benefit going in there. That leads us into the Arsenal game. Then we'll preview that. Paul, I'll come to you first. Arsenal scoring a lot of goals at the moment. They're clicking back into gear after a sort of like a bumpy little period where, but still the table's still 9 points behind Liverpool, so it's not like they're genuinely looking like title challengers. They're the closest of them, and they're in form and they're purring. And when they are, and Saka and Odegaard, obviously a lot of it is linked to Odegaard being in there. When they are playing that way and they look clinical and they look like they can cut through teams very, very easily using economy, there are the moments where you do worry about playing against Arsenal, because they get into a bit of a groove. Have you seen enough of United so far under Amorim to say you're confident of them going there and getting a result? Or do you think Arsenal have got a bit too much for them?
I still would say Arsenal have got too much. I still would say that. I think the situation is, it's not so much in the general play, it's dead ball situations. Arsenal are, at this moment, more of a modern day version of a George Graham team in that sense. That's what I'm looking at there. When you talk about looking for great football, and they're not that way. They're very straight and very direct in what they're doing. There is everything that, it's just like a case of, with corners. They did this one. They scored from it, but somehow Gabriel went round the outside and no one went with him, and he just scored. And virtually didn't jump. He virtually had to bring his head down and headed it across, and no one was with him. But they virtually all went and stood behind the far post, and just run. And they did it 2 or 3 times, and you looked at it and you thought to yourself, this is ridiculous. They go and score, and all of a sudden everyone wants to talk about this. All of a sudden the set piece coach is wonderful. Prior to that, it was just like, it's just putting the ball in an area and you hope someone gets on the end of it. Then it's the greatest thing ever. But it causes problems. They blocked the goalkeeper off. There was a push on Paqueta in front, and they go and score. And it should have been a foul, but again, Anthony Taylor's refereeing, so no one questions him. There was 2 or 3 incidents which he's involved in that should never have been, but it did. They're not easy on the eye, in my opinion. They're not at all. But I look, and the thing I worry about more is Martinez not playing. It's quite good in a way, because he would have come up against Saka, and not that he couldn't deal with him. The problem is Saka has a way of playing, and he can trip over his laces sometimes on quite a few occasions. So he could have played him. So you need someone to close him early, to drag him back the other way, because you don't want him getting anywhere near the box, because he earns penalties out of it, be honest. And he's always looking to the repeat trick of hitting across the front of you for the far corner. But in general play, Odegaard does a lot of work running around and huffs and puffs and looking to try and go through, find little holes. But as they say, they've got Havertz who runs around. If he doesn't score, the Arsenal fans have a go at him. So they're not outstanding, but they're just very, very disciplined. And I think you said that they are a disciplined side in what they do. He's got them organised in a way. I think when you talk about discipline, the way he plays is definitely more disciplined than what it is, than what Pep is with Man City. Pep has got more players who can express themselves than what Arsenal have got. And Arsenal's players don't really go to the full extreme, in my opinion. It is going to be difficult, but these games over so many years were not always won with outstanding football. It was about the discipline of the players and the organisation skill of the managers. That's what I mean. I'm thinking those games under Sir Alex at Highbury, and then more so at Highbury, and there was always like chess matches in the end. Regardless of where Arsenal were in the league, whatever, there were always big games between the two sides. So, I'm really looking forward to it, because it's something different that United are going there with, and everyone in their own mind are thinking this is a win for Arsenal. If it is a win, it's not going to be easy for Arsenal compared to what it could have been a month ago, where you go there and be really concerned.
Yeah, interesting. Patrick in the comment just says, morning, gents. I agree, Amorim will need a settled 11 long term. However, aside from Onana, a few folks can name United's strongest 11. We've been caught and inconsistent for years. Trial and error for now, which is fair. Dave, you might have to take yourself off mute when I've finished the question. I don't know if I put you on mute there, or if I put you on timeout, or if you've done that for yourself, which, good on you if you did. So Paul's made numerous good points there about Arsenal, and one of the interesting things is going to be to see how Amorim approaches this, because it's a different kind of challenge. The one thing that struck me watching Arsenal against West Ham was it's not a different West Ham to the team that we played a few weeks ago. We should have done exactly what Arsenal did. We just didn't have the clinical edge in the finishing in the first half. Maybe Amorim's United at the weekend would have done the same to West Ham as what Arsenal did to West Ham this weekend. Maybe I'm being a bit too positive and optimistic with the current run of form. That said, I think we're all, like Paul said, I don't think anyone's hiding away from the fact Arsenal favourites for this one. You usually the most positive one out of the three of us of United getting a result? Are you feeling optimistic about going there and getting a win?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest changes over the past 2 or 3 weeks is the amount of goals that we're scoring. We scored I think it was 11 under Van Nistelrooy. We've scored 7 in our last 2 games. And that's been with a mixture of different strikers up front. With hindsight, I think it was a good idea to rest, if that was his intention, was to rest a lot of the players. I definitely would like to see Hoyland back on Wednesday night, because I think he'll put more pressure on the Arsenal defence. Arsenal go in as favourites. They've been doing well over the past couple of seasons. They're coming, on the back of a scoring 5 against West Ham. But it could be argued that we scored 4 against Everton, not a great Everton side, not a great West Ham side. Up until that result, I think Arsenal were starting to stutter a bit. They are a good bit off top spot when they started the season as one of the favourites behind City. I think it's not a terrible time to go to Arsenal. I'm not sure how they're gonna handle their new system, because it's still relatively unknown to us as well. But I do agree with Paul and Martinez and Saka. I think that could have been a recipe for disaster at times. Martinez tends to jump in a lot, and in this new system, he is kind of left a little bit exposed on the left when we go forward. My only hope for Wednesday is, well, 2 hopes: 1, we win, and 2, Dalot doesn't start, because everything that happens to us, everything bad, every mistake starts with him. It really does. I don't know how many times he had to scramble back to fix a mistake that he created. So my hope is that he doesn't start, and I think we have a chance. I really do. I'll be happy with a point, but I think we could sneak 3. I don't think Arsenal are really all that this season. We're still on this, everyone trying to prove themselves. So it could be a good thing. I mean, Marcus Rashford came off the pitch smiling, the weekend, which we haven't seen for a while. And I'm not trying to be critical of him in that sense, but a smiling Marcus Rashford is something we haven't seen in a while. I'm not saying he was fantastic at the weekend, but you can build on that. You really can. But I'm confident. It's going to be a massive test. Damned if we do, damned if we don't, is the way it's going to be. If we lose, the media will love it. They'll say, well, the bubble has burst. But Arsenal are, they're a decent side. And like you said, most people are expecting them to win. And maybe that's when we can catch them on the hop. But I'm confident. Like I said, I keep saying this. I love this new system. I really do. We get more goals from it. We're a lot more exciting. Little naive at times, but that's just a learning process. It really is. As Paul pointed out earlier on in the show, Everton, they had a few chances, and better strikers may have put them away. But this is obviously a learning curve for the defence of where everyone's supposed to be and at what given time during the play. But I'm excited, and I'm confident of getting something on Wednesday, and hopefully it's 3 points.
Yeah. By the time we're back talking about this, we will have played another game. Nottingham Forest, who are making either 2 trips to Manchester, so they're actually up on Wednesday against Manchester City, which obviously they'll inflict City's 5th league defeat in a row. So they'll be in a good mood. Either they'll go back to Nottingham for a few days and then come back up, or they'll just stick around Manchester for a few days. Don't know what there is to do for 3 days in Manchester. Besides, obviously, Dave's already ruled out spending 48 hours with me. That seems like a bad thing. So I don't think Nottingham Forest will be doing that.
Happy Christmas.
But Paul, I mean, Forest, actually decent run of late form, apart from the last couple of games. I found it quite difficult, but then they got back to winning ways against Ipswich at the weekend. Something that we failed to do under the mighty Ruben Amorim. They'll have their confidence boosted, of course, by their 2-0 win in midweek against Pep's free fall in Manchester City, regardless of what happens there. What do you reckon for the weekend? Do you think it's going to be another? Apart from the away games, because obviously we've got City coming up as well. The home run looks very, very comfortable for Amorim, so he should be picking up wins and comfortable wins like yesterday, right?
Yes, I'd have to agree. I have to agree with that. I'm sure there's a better feel now about the games at home, where before playing at home was always seemed becoming like a burden, didn't it? Really, and I'm sure the players were feeling it as well, because if you're not getting that feeling from the fans, then and on Wednesday night, I mean, they was loud Wednesday night. They, especially the way it kicked off as well. It was loud, but yes, there is that better feeling now. People are a little bit more assured now in what's going on the pitch, and there is a better structure. You can see there's something there, and that's what everyone is saying, and you can actually see it. I fully get it why people were very upset, the way things were, because you never really got an idea what the players were going to do, because a lot of them seemed like they wasn't really in with it at all. They wasn't there. But I look at the Forest game, and Forest at the moment, their team as well, with no real grey area. They seem very good, or they just seem just being Forest. That was a tough win for them against Ipswich. Ipswich haven't made it easy for anybody at the moment in time, and they will get some wins. They will get maybe a run going together, because they're well organised. They're honest. Every player is honest at Ipswich, and they will have a go. And their home form might be the one that keeps them up, because they are a difficult side to beat at Portman Road. So even though United weren't at their best and Ipswich created the better opportunities and was a goalkeeper who kept them in the game, is that lots of teams will go to Portman Road and they won't come back with a point, because they do make it difficult. But Forest have got something about them. I think they've enjoyed coming to Old Trafford of late. In certain ways, they've nicked a few little things along the way. There wasn't great, they had some good times around my time as well, and just before Nottingham Forest. But they're good at what they do. They're a high energy team as well.
Yeah.
A midfield that do shift the ball around very quickly, and they're quite direct in the way they play. And I don't mean that in a negative way. In the way they play, they don't overpass. They're not for the sake of passing team. When they get in the wide area, they will deliver the ball to Chris Wood. It will come in that box. So Dilip, Martinez, and even Dave's favourite defender Dallo have to be on their guard, to be honest, because they got to stop crosses. Dallo has to stop crosses. He let Lindstrom cross the ball so easily yesterday, and Onana had to come to the near post and grab it. If they had a decent centre forward, he would have been running towards that near post. Very similar in the one that Marcus Rashford scored at Ipswich. If they had a striker who runs, he goes and gets an opportunity. Dallo has to understand, as good as he, when he goes forward and he gets in some great areas and he makes some great runs, that the key part of his game should still always be defending. Even now he's been pushed forward as a wing back. His thing should be that, and your man on your side, you're up against, as much as you take him one way, you're going to have to go back the other and stop him playing, and you might earn the right to play. But he still ain't learnt that bit yet. He's still not understanding that defending side of his game. He was even questioned slightly by the manager, wasn't he, about the way he's been playing.
Yeah. With fairness, to be honest, Dave, Forest next week. Then, like Paul said, they've had a little bit of joy against United. They won against us at the City Ground last season, I think. There was a controversial penalty, and so something controversial happened there, I seem to remember. And obviously at Old Trafford, they went 2-0 up, and we were really made to work for the win. Came back from 2 goals down. What do you expect to see? Do you think that the anything riding on the Arsenal result, or do you think it's going to be a case of like we're back at home again? Should expect to win comfortably? I mean, either way, you've either got the consistency of a good result at Arsenal or a need for a reaction from one, right?
Yeah, I think the key part of this is what Paul said earlier on, is that last season, I don't think the players enjoyed playing at Old Trafford. The mood was dead. The results weren't great. There's definitely been a big uptick from when Van Nistelrooy took over for those 4 games. I think 3 of them were at home, maybe all 4 of them were at home. It's created an atmosphere. It was a very good atmosphere there yesterday. Obviously, getting the goals helps, but I think the players are a lot more confident now playing at Old Trafford than they were last season. The support is right behind them, and that, as Paul can tell, having the support from the stands, helps immensely. I'm a lot more confident about home games these days than I was last season. And Forest, they've been doing well this season. Chris Woods has been a danger. But I on the back of 2 good home wins, 7 goals. The Arsenal game, I'm not sure whether that's going to have a direct effect in how we approach the Forest game, but I'm really confident every time we go out onto the pitch now at Old Trafford, more so than I was 12 months ago. Even at 2-0 at the weekend, you're kind of like, oh God, we just give me another one, at least another one. Then when we got 3, I'm like, I don't know whether these guys can handle 3-0. And then if it's 3-1, it's a disaster. And then we went 4, and I'm like, okay, 4 is probably long enough. Okay, I'll be happy with 4. But it builds a massive amount of confidence. I think I read, did I read earlier on online that they have a better goal difference now than Man City, which is kind of weird. And Man City are supposed to be the bar setter. So I'm confident this weekend. I'm confident every home game we play now. Because of the style we play, it's a more attacking style, and it gets the fans up and about them as well. So, but I'm confident of beating Forest comfortably.
Okay, well, it'd be more comfortable if they play Chris Woods up front. I mean, Paul said Chris Wood, which is right. Chris Woods was the former goalkeeper for Sheffield Wednesday, so sorry about that, Dave. But if he plays up front, then I think... And he was also the former goalkeeping coach for United for a little while, as I'm sure Dave remembers quite well. So if he's playing up front for Forest, should be a quite comfortable day, even for Diogo Dalot. Go on, Dave. You wanted to...
I don't even think Dalot could manage Chris Woods.
Well, you never know. If Chris Woods can play, then we get Paul on at right back because he's similar age, so we'll have a good run at it. Hopefully we'll be back at least to talk about 1 win next weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate your time on this Monday. Have a great week. And hopefully, like I said, we'll be back to talk about 2 United wins or 4 points at least next week. Have a good one. Stay safe. Stay well. Thanks for listening and watching.